Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we're back again with another alliance war, and once again I am starting on path 4, and this time I'm starting on path for the second node once again, which is basically spite and aspect of war. So we're up against X7V alliance. I think the name is Gotham, and this was certainly alliance war filled with some dodgy gameplay from my part and some dodgy things happening on well, we're gonna see when we get to it, but either way, first and foremost, I need to deal with this Mephisto, so I'm just bringing in Quake. Even though I don't have Suicide Masteries, I do have class advantage. I used kind of like a medium set of boosts, and the base idea is I don't want to trigger Spite on myself. Other than that, obviously, I do need to be aware of the Siphon node, but it doesn't seem to be too bad with Quake. If you can parry your opponents and you don't end up taking too many hits in your block, you seem to be able to cope with the block damage relatively easily. It's not like it's eating away huge chunks of my health. And here we can see that a half minute in the fight, he's already at 50% health, so that's relatively easily gone down so far. He is in fact going to go unblockable in just a minute. However, that will be towards the very end of the fight and for like a couple of hits. So I should have either boosted a bit more or put on suicide or something. But yeah, here you can see that he's unblockable. But I already had enough aftershock stacks on Mephisto to make sure that the fight finishes relatively simple. And so first fight super easy with Quake, not much problem. So then I was going to go in against this Dr. Doom, and this was one hell of a dodgy fight because I was planning to use my Captain America Infinity War on this guy. It's not exactly the perfect matchup and perfect champion, I think, even though it should work out quite well, but it doesn't, largely because of the Mystic Dispersion and the fact that I can't really heavy, and the Siphon. It's a tricky fight, I'm just gonna say that. And I would have absolutely no shame in dying in this fight, and I would be perfectly willing to accept the fact that I died. However, there was something extremely interesting happening pretty much as soon as I entered the fight. We're gonna see it in a second. My video recording is gonna cut out within like 15 seconds of the fight or something like that. So here we can see that we start the fight and haven't made any huge major mistakes at this point, keeping it relatively simple. That power focus is annoying, that I miss evade there at some point. I can nullify the unstoppables here, so that's good. And then my recording cut out because I started receiving calls from unknown caller ID. Don't even know whether it was on phone or WhatsApp or line app. But basically, this call started to come in immediately, and as soon as I dropped off because I wanted to get back to my fight, the next call would come, and then I would hang up the phone again, and then immediately the next call would come. And anyways, so it carried on pretty much up until I died, and as soon as I died, it magically stopped. I put my phone away for like a minute out, like away from me, and not a single call afterwards. I had already died. So that was a bit suspect. I don't want throwing up any shade because obviously I don't honestly care enough to try and accuse or investigate or something, but hey, it might have been the world's coolest coincidence. Who knows? Either way, after a while, I saw that nobody's calling me, and I disabled all the incoming calls from basically all the apps, went back in the fight, and we're gonna see that I close out the fight. Now, I do not play well here, definitely, because at this point I was still a bit fuming for the death and for whatever happened, and I still don't really know what happened, therefore I'm not going to make any wild accusations. But the point is, yes, I died to this Dr. Doom. My recording cut out because I started receiving a bunch of incoming calls, so I didn't actually get to see the death. And this fight is going to finish out pretty much as dodgy as it comes as well, because I have him basically where I want to, but I definitely didn't play this perfect at all. Think he's gonna like heavy me at some point here. Yes, so I finish up on like 14%. Go for level 2 in the fight is over. Definitely made some mistakes, definitely didn't play perfect, and still I was a bit agitated at that point, to say the least. Anyway, so that was it for the fights last night, and so now we are off to next morning. And this time a teammate of mine asked if I can go and clear path 9 instead, and yeah, I was perfectly fine with that. And so on path 9, basically it's inverted controls in section 2. The first node, you have inverted controls for first half a minute of the fight. Second one, basically it's fully inverted controls for the entire fight. Now I'm bringing in Corvus again, I'm bringing in Quake against Corvus. Luckily for me also that Corvus is not duped, so I don't have to worry about knocking him over or anything like that. And you can play Quake simply with heavy parry method, and then you can ignore the inverted controls to begin with, and there's absolutely nothing tricky about the fight. It's basically as if you do normal Quake fight with heavy and parry method, and yeah, it's that simple. Nothing tricky at all whatsoever. Also, Corvus technically, for BS Blade reasons, is not a villain, so he's not benefiting from the Siphon node, which is quite handy, and I definitely don't complain about. So yeah, the block damage obviously is noticeable because it's Corvus, but then again, it could have been a lot worse if Corvus would have been affected by Siphon node. And next fight is, I think, probably just a diversity placement. Anyways, it's a Red Hulk, so certainly not the trickiest or hardest of the defenders. Again, like a quick disclaimer, I was doing these fights fairly rapidly at work, so it's not going to be the perfect gameplay, and I will mess up, I think, mostly on the Human Torch fight. But anyways, first we need to get through this Red Hulk, and here I'm going to employ pretty much the same tactic: parry, heavy, and that's about it. Parry, heavy, easy, solid, not much trouble, no much problems there. I am Nick Fury, so I don't really care about how much block damage I take, even if I do happen to make mistake. Occasionally finish a combo with a light hit to inflict that mega bleed. Now here, I did have to evade that level 2 with inverted controls, but it's not the biggest deal. Another heavy attack, the fight is over. Very simple fight, there's nothing hard at all. And yeah, now up on Hela. It had been a while since I did this side of the map, so I had to remind me what these nodes do. And yeah, Hela again doesn't really seem to be the most tricky placement that could potentially have been chosen over here. And since it's like close encounters, no, so basically I regen if I stay close to Hell, I degen if I am far away from her. So if I can manage to be aggressive and stay close to her for majority of the fight, I don't have much to worry about. In fact, it's quite helpful to be healing. Obviously, Hela is a villain, so she does benefit from the Siphon node, but again, it doesn't seem to be dealing that much damage. And here I just away the level 2, she's at 6%, so the fight's pretty much over. Very simple fight once again, not much trouble there at all. Just waiting for her bypass death to expire, and that's about it. I did get parried there by accident though. That was like fully my fault. I'm kind of used to stretching out the parry a bit more, and if opponents have limber active, I sometimes get caught by it. And yeah, so Human Torch. Now this fight is gonna be absolutely horrible. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. I could have played it so much better, and only reason I'm properly gonna get through it was because I had Nick Fury in as a champion, and that he's so stacked. Because yeah, for whatever reason, for a second there, I'm gonna forget how to fight Human Torch, and I'm gonna start eating or blocking his level 1s, and then I realize he's back at another level 1, and I block it, and yeah, something seemed to be going amiss. And then somewhere throughout the fight, I'm gonna realize that wait a minute, I can evade those special attacks, and I probably should. So that's what we're gonna start doing there. Drop a level 1 to gain some more of those counters, purify the incinerates. Now I do nail that level 1 evade, combo into another level 1, no problems. From this point forward, I remembered that I can play this game decently enough not to die, I suppose, and that is going to work out for us. Yeah, the beginning of the fight, I don't know, my head was in the clouds or something else was happening wrong there, but yeah, anyways, so Human Torch down, so I'm pretty much done with my path, and the next couple of fights I'm gonna have is gonna be much later on in the day, when we are already gonna be closing out the map. And I'm going to be taking care of the Sabertooth mini-boss and the fully immune Void as well. So for Sabertooth, I'm just going to keep it simple. Going to bring in Quake and yeah, completely bypass his region abilities, ignore the strike back. He's not stun immune, he doesn't have limber, so it's a very basic, very easy, simple fight for Quake. Not much to worry about there at all. Everything is gonna work pretty much smoothly. Now it's obviously going to take time, so I will take my liberty and speed this fight up a bit. So basically, we're just gonna stick to our corner, do what Quake does, watch the opponent die, completely ignore all of the nodes or regeneration abilities in the fight, and have a good laugh while we're doing it. God, I love Quake. She's so good. So good. But yeah, slowly but surely, well, twice the speed that you normally see it. Sabretooth is going down, and there's not much he can do about it. And then we're gonna move on to the final mini boss fight against fully immune Void, which is gonna be a bit dodgy and is gonna require some less so standard solutions, I guess. We're going to see about that towards end. Definitely not going to be a perfect fight. I didn't play like flawless game at all during this war because I had quite a bit on my mind. But either way, so I'm going in with Nick Fury, and I know that I have class advantage. I do realize that Void is debuff immune. However, every time I do manage to knock him down, I can get rid of my debuffs and so on and so forth. Plus class advantage, plus boosts. But here, half a minute in the fight, I noticed that he's still at 86%. And if I do not do anything, then it is going to be fairly close, because this node obviously has quite a lot of critical resistance and all that kind of stuff as well. And basically I just decided to let him wreck me till the Nick Fury's ally model decoy gets destroyed, and then use that huge damage bump to speed up the killing process, so to speak. Obviously it is quite a bit riskier because Void's debuffs, if they get stuck on me, then I would lose my health relatively rapidly, considering I would be playing with 30% health. However, if I'm unblockable, I should be able to get rid of those debuffs relatively quickly, and that was kind of the plan. Definitely better ways to deal with this Void in my opinion, but hey, it will all work out in the end after all, even with me being as sloppy as I was. So here I bait out level 2 and then punish it, get rid of the debuff, drop my level 1. And yeah, basically with some small hiccups and less than perfect gameplay, we will still manage to take this Void down in time. Other than that, I just wanted to mention that we did win the war, so that was quite cool. Super happy with that. And that will pretty much be it more or less for today's video. Obviously, as we know, the first week of the season is over now. We're gonna have an off day. I will try to record as many of the season wars as I can, especially if I get to use like multiple different champions in the fights, because that is kind of like one of the main things I want to showcase, kind of like different champions in Alliance War. Either way, that will do for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, sub button, all the buttons. See ya.